Let's call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Water Commissioners for today. Let's call the roll.
Chairman Einhauser,
I am present.
Vice Chair Blackman, Commissioner Coleman,
President Charleston, South Carolina.
Tell my family hello.
Commissioner Forte,
Present.
Commissioner Kinlock,
Present.
Commissioner Garcia. Present. Commissioner Davis is absent. Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
All right, thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. Let's move on to the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Blackman,
I would move approval of the agenda as presented.
and is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any changes to the agenda as presented? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is adopted. Next is the approval of the minutes for June the 15th,
Mr. Chair.
2022. Commissioner Kinlock.
Move approval of the meeting minutes with any necessary corrections.
And is there support?
Second.
It's been moved and supported. Any changes or corrections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? And that is adopted. Next, we will open up our meeting to public comments. Who is going to tell us the rules for public comment?
Mr. Chair, I can present those rules for you. Tiffany Jones.
Yes, Ms. Jones, thank you.
Thank you. To make a comment, please at this time, raise your hand by using the raise hand icon on your desktop or mobile device if you are calling in. If you are calling into the meeting by phone, press *9 to raise your hand. If you are inside the boardroom, simply write your name on the sign-in sheet to be recognized. During public comment, the customer's name will be called and IT will give you permission to unmute. In order to begin speaking, you have to unmute yourself. To do so, press the unmute button, which is the microphone icon. And if you're online, if you're on the phone, *6. As a reminder, you will have a limit of 3 minutes to make your comment. There will be a timer indicating your remaining time, so please take note of that. And if you make a comment, we kindly request that you fill out the comment card. The link will be located in the chat. By filling out the card, we will have your contact information and we will follow up appropriately. If you are unable to click the link, please let us know and a telephone number will be provided for you to call to provide your information on a secure line. You will be called only once for public comment. Once the chair closes public comment, there will be no other comments from the public accepted, and all attendees will remain muted for the duration of the meeting. That is all the instructions. Thank you for your attention, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. And I'd like to call Morellis Blackston. Yes, sir. How are you?
All right, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Or do I just start now?
Please.
Okay, good afternoon, DWSD Council. My name is Marcellus Bankston Sr., journeyman electrician and lifelong resident of Detroit. Our water issues stem from a property we bought from Detroit Land Bank, 11674 Pinehurst, November of 2020. We have been trying to get the water service since with no avail. We purchased the house for $7,500 with $20,000 in updates, roof, windows, electrical service, plumbing, security doors, entry doors, privacy fence, etc. Currently paying a gas and electric bill. The Detroit Land Bank sold us a house with no water service. After contacting the master plumber, Ben Williams and Son, to see if the problem was on my side of the service line as defined on your own website, which I quote, a service line connects the water main in the street to your house. DWSD owns and maintains service lines from the main in the city street to the curb stop usually located near your property boundary. Customers are responsible for the service line from the curb box into the home at the water meter, unquote. Mr. Williams, master plumber, informed me beyond reasonable doubt that the break in the line was on the utility company's side. And further said, if I were to be responsible for the repair, it would be an expensive repair, northwards of $25,000. Ms. Goodwin, my land bank compliance officer, offered us our $7,500 back with no compensation for any of the renovations that have been made. She claims that it was a disclosure that makes us responsible to repair city infrastructure at our own expense. I never seen that disclosure, nor did my significant at the closing. Which brings me to our plea with the DWSD Council. I've invested in our city by investing in my neighborhood. I have rehabbed 6 houses and currently working on an additional 3 in my immediate area. Could you, the DWSD, please come fix the connection from the main to the curb stop so I can put a wrap on this project, wrap this project up and have another tax-paying household on our city's tax base. In conclusion, I invite any of you to come to my neighborhood to see the work I've committed to our community. All I ask is for your assistance with this issue so I can continue to uplift my immediate area. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Brown.
Hey, Brian, could you take him to see Tiana or Renee? And if it is in fact true that the line is not connected from the stop box to the main, that's our responsibility. And so I'll commit to you that we will repair it if that is in fact true. And I will come out and look at your property tomorrow. So my administrative assistant's going to pull the account information and we'll get meter ops to take a look. And
You said look at it tomorrow, at what time? Because I'm
you-
gainfully employed.
they'll get your information, but
Okay,
I'm out on sites all the time and we'll let you know. I'd be glad to come by and take a look at it.
Mhm.
But let's find out what's going on. A $25,000
rehab.
repair is not reasonable by any standards.
Oh, yeah.
We do this work all the time. And so I don't know why the plumber would tell you that it was a $25,000
That's-
repair, but let us take a look at it
Mhm.
and we will get to the bottom of it. And again, if it is on our side of the box, we'll make the repair.
Thank you.
I mean, the goal is to get customers,
Yeah, that's-
good paying customers
that's
online.
my-
That's my
that's
goal
been my
is
argument. I've
is to
been-
increase the number of accounts that we have
Understood.
working. So we're gonna do everything we can to do it. And there's a lady standing at the door. She's my administrative assistant. She's gonna get you information and we'll try to resolve the issue for you as quickly as humanly possible.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Bankston.
Thank you.
Tom Irie? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Board. I was here last month as well around the issue of the Lifeline Plan, this new water affordability plan that the Board unanimously voted to approve, despite so many of us voicing our concerns. And as I shared last month, I moved to Detroit in 2014 from Southern California. I was shocked to find out when I got here that the city was shutting off water to longtime low-income residents. And as part of my work at St. Peter's Episcopal Church, I was a pastor there, started to deliver water to different residents and hear their stories. I was deeply disturbed and moved by what I heard from folks who have lived in Detroit for decades. And so I come to you today with really 2 asks and 2 concerns. The first is that I've tried to get details on the Lifeline plan and I can't get them. from advocates that I've talked to, from We the People of Detroit, from the Poor People's, from People's Water Board, from other organizations. I continue to hear the word that there are no details formally of this plan. They haven't been released to the public. So we don't know the exacts of how this is funded, how this is going to be sustainable in the long term. And that's a huge concern of mine because my wife and I worked at the water rights hotline for a couple of years. And Wayne Metro is unsustainable as far as having the capacity to continue to fund this thing. And then the other concern that I have is that we're in this 60-day period now where we're getting community engagement. And so I want to know, like how's that happening? I don't see a strategy. I don't see where the meetings are, where the public can actually give input. And by public, I just mean like people who are actually impacted by these policies.
Mr. Chair, first of all, thank you for all that you do in the community. The young man that's sitting behind you, Brian Peckinpah, has posted, and he will walk you through right now where you can find the 40 meetings that are scheduled for community outreach. It's just not true that we're shutting off residential accounts. We've committed for 2 years to have a moratorium, and we're still within that moratorium. So I can assure you that no residential account is being shut off. I can also assure you after December 31st that any customer that simply enrolls in either the Lifeline plan or a payment plan will enjoy the benefits of staying in a moratorium. They will not be shut off. And as I've indicated to We the People and other advocates, we're sitting on $25 million right now, 25 million. And I keep hearing comments about what we're going to do in the future. Let's get people signed up right now for the $25 million. And that 25 million will take care of arrears. It will take care of a fixed credit for a customer that could be as low as $18 fixed. And it will do plumbing repairs in order to fix any plumbing issues inside the home so that they can stay within the 4,500 gallons. So we've also posted all of the documents that built this plan on the website, and Brian will be more than happy to show you where the link is. And we look forward to seeing you at as many of those meetings because we absolutely need input. We want to make this the best program that it can be. But if we continue to not work together in order to resolve the issue of having a permanent funding source, the federal government has made enough money available for the LIWAP program for 2 years. They gave us enough money for the first year. And they're saying, develop a plan, execute the plan. And if you do that, we're willing to permanently fund it. And the way I see that we get it permanently funded is that the utilities in this country, the nonprofits in this country, the water advocates in this country have to speak with one voice to our congresspersons, our senators, our state representatives, and push together to get a permanent funding source for the program that we have in place today. We absolutely understand that it's not perfect. It can be improved, and it will only be improved if the community steps up and gives us valuable input in which this board will make the decision to amend the program to make it better.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And just real quick, I think, you know, one of the things that is of grave concern to us is this language of permanently funded and federal government. Those don't go together. And all of us in this room know good and well what's coming down the pike. Who's going to be the next president of the United States?
Well,
Well,
well, thi-
And
thi-
it
this is-
doesn't really matter because it's all corporate sponsored. Y'all, they don't care about residents of Detroit.
But this is a fact. It cannot be funded through rates. We have a population that 50% of our customer base is below poverty. We
Right.
can't pass the cost
Right.
on
Sure.
to people. You just push more people over the edge. And so the dollars have to come either from the state or from the federal government. And we have to put, and we're going to be in a better position to secure the funding if we're working together to push for that funding. When I say working together, I mean the water advocates and the nonprofits such as yours, the utilities, as well as the community. And
Commissioner Kinlock.
Mr. Chair, I just want to say to the gentleman, I've been talking and going around the city, talking to residents about this plan. We're residents, and that's what I think a lot of people don't understand. The commissioners, we actually live here. The same rates that you're paying and everyone's paying, we have to pay here as residents. We hear this when I'm in the grocery store, when I'm here, it's not just from you all. We're hearing across the city that people want relief. I was at a mental health authority meeting a few moments ago, and they were talking about this issue. So we take this very seriously. And there's no other group in this city that that has a single responsibility as much as we do in trying to ensure that we address the water needs of the residents. And what I'm saying is that we have to work together. We have to work together because you all are very engaged in this conversation and you're at a space that people respect you as advocates. You have to work with us to absolutely get those congresspersons, and especially the congresspersons who are engaged in this space and in this conversation, to join with us in getting the money. The money is there because they pay and help with gas and other utilities. So the resources are there. Don't ever let nobody tell you that it's not there. It's just the conversation. And then we got to get all of our folks, because we are in charge. The Democrats are in charge right now, and we need to make sure we move the mark, and let's work together. All I'm, really would, understand that we're with you, and we got to stop this, not from you right now. You are perfect, but this is not us against them. It's us.
Right. Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, and we're right there with you. We know the resources exist. There's a problem in the system. It's all corporate driven.
Absolutely.
Well,
Thank you.
Mr. Eric, we're going to control what we control. We don't control corporate behavior or the capitalist system. We've got enough money to go for 2 years. And I agree with you. I'm concerned about the sustainability too. But what I'm hearing is we shouldn't start unless we have permanent funding. And I absolutely disagree with you. In the month of August, several thousand ratepayers are going to go from a $80 bill to an $18 bill. And we're not going to wait. We're going to do that in the month of August. And I frankly don't understand why you're suggesting that we wait.
And is there specifics on the website about if it goes over the $4,500 gallons, this is how much it's going to cost families?
Yes.
It's on the website.
And we have the data on our customer base. We know what our average customer and how much water they're using. We're sending out their bills. And I'm telling you that 3 to 4 CCFs, which is about 3,000 gallons, is the average. And certainly the people that are over 4,500, in most cases, they have water leaks. We have $10 million to address those issues if you sign up. And so we've accounted for that. We know what our average usage is on the residential side. We can see it. We send out the bills. And we know what the water experts have told us is the amount of water that's needed for the average family. Now, if you have 10 kids and you're way outside the average and you don't have leaks, then we have made provisions in this plan for those exceptions also.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be no perfect plan that can address 250,000 different accounts. But this plan addresses more than 90% of those. And when we find exceptions, hardships, we will say that this is a hardship for this family and we need to use additional other dollars in order to address their issues. So again, Brian is going to show you where the link is. These documents are there. This wasn't done in a vacuum. It was done with water advocates. It was done with water experts. It was done with the knowledge that this board has from doing this for many, many years and listening to what community activists have asked for. And I think we've delivered on 99% of what we've been asked to do with this particular plan.
Yeah, and let me add what the director said. I appreciate the work that's being done at St. Peter's. I'm pretty familiar with it. It's really good stuff, and I'm glad you came here from California. Are you enjoying the winter?
Not today, not today.
All right, well, thank you very,
And just to clarify, so if there's 10 people living in the house,
I can't
they're paying
address,
more,
we can't address every.
right? But they're,
every house.
but in the plan, they have to pay more. I'm just clarifying, right?
If you go beyond 6 CCFs, which is more than 4,500,
Right,
you at this point are paying more.
right, right.
And we're saying that from our experience as a water utility, that's because of water leaks and we have the dollars to fix those.
But isn't it because there's more people in the house? And
not
it-
necessarily, but I don't
Right, but there's a
know.
ton-
You
there-
need to take yes for an answer at some point. The outliers are going to be accommodated.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know
that's-
what more can we say?
but that's actually not true, right?
No, that is true.
No. In the Lifeline plan, if you have 10 people living in a house and you're using more than $4,500, you have to pay more according to the Lifeline plan.
But why do you have blinders on? There's more resources in the community than just the Lifeline plan.
I've seen how those resources are distributed. Like I told you, I've seen how it works. Assistance does not work, and you guys know that.
So at what point, one quick question,
Sure.
Mr. Chair. Okay, so what I'm saying is, you prefer us to continue to do nothing, right? I'm saying right now we have the ability and we are going, because the plan's in place, to actually help folks. There are going to be some cases where folks may have 30 people in a situation, in a household, for any given reasons.
Right.
You know, we used to have cousins and families that came and stayed with us on Stanford.
Right.
And, and used a lot of water. So I'm saying there's going to be instances like that. But what the director is saying, in those instances, there is a way to address those issues. And so we can only deal with the information, the data that is collected based upon monthly usage. And that's what we're basing it out of, but basing it from. If there are some unique circumstances, look, we're trying to address and help a need in the city. And so there's going to be folks with 30, 40, 50, and a number of folks, what reasons, but we'll deal with those. All I'm saying is that let's start with just helping these 8,000 or so folks immediately. And then we also look like work together to find permanent funding sources.
All right, Commissioner Forte.
Yeah, so I think you've raised something with respect to the permanent funding sources and the question mark. My hope is that through our meetings and our outreach with water advocates, because that's an area that I have deep concern about too, is that we strategize, that we move forward and strategize. That we look at the Lifeline plan, offer up any recommendations, but boy, we better strategize about long-term funding. And we don't have the time to waste.
Right.
Now, if we're not focused on the long-term strategy about funding and corral the resources that we have, and we have many, and you have many, to focus on long-term, because that's where we've got to go. And I don't mean just long-term status quo. I'm hoping long-term and more resources. But if we waste our time on the smaller, finer 20% of the whatever, the 100% of the issue we're trying to resolve, we're going to be left behind, for sure, for sure.
All right, thank you,
Hey,
Mr. Airy.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate 40 meetings. in the next, 40 days, all over Detroit. I think it would be really helpful to hear the input that you all get and what sort of shifts and changes you're making to the plan to make it better.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair, just for those that are listening, I just want to make this point that we're cobbling together 5 different pots or sources of funding. Each one of them comes with rules and regulations on how the money can be spent. There is absolutely no program that will be accepted without a conservation component to the plan. And that's what we're trying to address with the 4,500 gallons of water, that we have a conservation component of the plan, or will be in violation of how we're using these dollars. So that's what hopefully we'll get to explain at these community meetings. And that will address some of the issues that we heard today.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Blackman.
I was not going to comment, but I think everything that's been said is very helpful, but we are trying to make sure people are using their water responsibly. If you don't pay attention to how much water you're using and use it irresponsibly, there's no plan that will help you. So with everything that's been said, I think we're doing everything we can to help our customers. That's our goal. And we will continue to work with anyone who wants to work with us and attend the meetings and give us their input. And the director said he's meeting with various groups. We all are interested in trying to make the best plan for our customers. So I don't think we need to continue, each of us needs to comment on that, but please rest assured that we are doing what we think is in the best interest of all of our customers and certainly our low-income customers.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'd also like to add that we will be taking lots of notes at all of these meetings. I will compile them into a summary and we'll put it in by category, areas that we need improvement, recommendations for improvements to the plan, next steps, things of that nature. So we will be taking copious notes, summarizing them, compiling them, and we will make recommendations to the board.
All right. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board this afternoon? I have
We have
no others.
people online. I don't know if there's anyone else in the room.
Let's talk about the room. Anybody in the room want to address the board? Okay. Is there anyone online?
Yes, our first speaker is Miko Williams.
Mr. Williams, excuse me. Mr. Williams, how are you?
Hi, good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you all so much for taking my comment. I want to thank the Board of Water Commissioners, the Detroit Water Sewage Department, Customer Service Division, Gary Brown and such for sending their customer service team to the Hydrate Detroit Share Water donation drive event on Saturday. We had a success. It was a very good day. We were able to get to some people who were in need, who were already there at the park, who had been dealing with some situations, but just didn't know where to go. I was thankful that we were there as a resource. Also, thanks to Wayne Metro for sending their team out as well. Following through, I have 3 clients that that are going to benefit from this fundraiser. I wish I could do more. This is only the first event, but we're going to try to do more because what we do is we help the people. We don't get corporate funding, government sponsorships, or what have you. But thanks to Board Commissioner Jonathan Kinlock, Michael Eisenhower for their support, it made the dream possible. So I just want to talk about a few things. We were talking about this water summit, so we can discuss all of these issues. Gang, these residents are coming to your podium and they are begging for details. They are begging for inside details. These details needed to be hashed out now, and it could have been hashed out when all of us could have met previously before announcing this endeavor. So I'm going to continue to request a water summit. I have a letter that was supposed to come today. It wasn't finished in time. This water summit should take place on a Saturday. It should take place like conference style in the afternoon. We should invite all the water warriors, experts, DWSD, City of Detroit, and other stakeholders, including community block club members, so that we can have a grand discussion about water. then we need to have a location. I propose we should meet at a neutral location, ADA accommodable, and it should be done ASAP. It should be done early August to the point of mid-August to September. We cannot wait any longer to meet so that we can finally nip this in the bud and come up with a permanent solution. The clock is ticking. Please take my urgency as consideration. I don't want to argue back and forth. I don't want to continue to be in contention with all of you. We need to do this right now. And so I will send the letter after this meeting is over so that it can be published on the record. Finally, I would like to say that before any meeting take place with the public, we need to have a grand meeting with the water department as to what those details will look like, because there are certain things that are happening, including events and outreach, turnout, and also how those things are going to look like. Thank you so much for taking my comment.
Thank you, D'Amico. Commissioner Blackman?
I was just going to ask the director to clarify what meetings took place prior to the adoption and presentation of this plan.
Certainly, we met with more than 35 members of different water advocacy groups. Unfortunately, we had to do the meetings by Zoom, but we did have the meetings. We had conference calls with the water advocates, also with water experts from several different universities that live in this space. We met with the advocacy groups such as the U.S. Water Alliance and others on putting this together. But Madam Chair, you'll remember you sat on the board of, or you sat on the panel, the Blue Ribbon panel, and I went back through that executive summary just yesterday. And we made sure that every point that was made, and Hydrate Detroit was actually a part of that. We appreciate their support. Every point that was in that Blue Ribbon panel has been addressed in this new Lifeline rate. And once again, if our friends in the water advocacy space have a list of customers, I just heard that there were 3 customers that need help, and that they're trying to help them with donations. We have $25 million to work with. We just need for our friends in the advocacy space to bring them, not to DWSD, but to Wayne Metro, either through filling out an application on the internet, or they have an office in the city of Detroit. And we're going to be opening up 2 additional offices, Wayne Metro is, one on the east side and one on the west side, in order to do that. But this program will not be successful if we're not able to register. And if our friends have a list of constituents that they're working with, we would be more than happy to apply our resources to solve those problems.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other members of the public that would like to address the commission?
Our next speaker is Cecily McClellan.
Ms. McClellan?
Hello, Cecily McClellan, co-founder of We the People of Detroit, a community activist. I'd like to thank the board for allowing me to speak. You know, it's our goal to ensure that Detroiters have clean, safe, and affordable water. And we truly appreciate the Board of Water Commissioners and DWSD finally adopting the idea of water affordability for Detroit. However, we have not seen this substantive effort to engage the community. As you are aware, July 17th was the first day that we actually had an opportunity to meet and speak with the DWSD. 11 days later, the plan was adopted by the Board of Water Commissioners. Although we requested, and as you stated in your July 14th letter to We the People, that the details of the Detroit Lifeline plan would be published on the website. We've been monitoring the site and we have not seen any details. We need transparency. As Mr. Brown has indicated in the customer service meeting, and just recently again, trying to manage between the various funding agencies and the different eligibility criteria is not an easy task. And we recognize that. And that is one of the basic reasons that we would like to see a full plan that would take into consideration what happens after a person used the 45 gallons of water. That is not outlined. It doesn't outline how you're going to charge the individuals beyond that. We want to see a permanent water affordability plan, not an assistance plan. We believe that signing on or adopting a plan without seeing the actual full plan will be like signing a contract without seeing the small print. We the people would like to make all Lifeline documents and operation plans and funding strategies available to the public. Establish an ombudsman as an internal mechanism to ensure oversight and accountability. Establish a community engagement plan and schedule the details, specific engagement touch points, and a reporting cadence. Create open lines of communication to receive and document community input on Lifeline plans in commitment to building the beloved community. We don't have any problems with moving forward and relieving the pain from Detroiters with any plan of assistance, but a water affordability plan is a permanent plan and it's the income-based plan. And we would like to see the details of that plan and not the PowerPoint presentation that's, and even the details that you have provided on your website.
Thank you very much, Ms. McClellan. Councilor Poshpish?
Ms. Gary, do you want to go first?
I was going to give out the website in which the documents have been posted. That's detroitmi.gov/water. And I would just also like to indicate there are two issues here. One is the Lifeline plan, and one is the inclining block rate structure that this board approved several weeks ago. And that document is also from Stantec, the cost of service analysis is posted online. And so I think people are confusing the affordability plan with the new rate structure, which has 2 tiers to it. The first tier, and the prices are posted of what it costs for the first 6 CCFs, and then what it costs for every CCF after that. That information is clearly posted online, but don't confuse the Lifeline plan with the new inclining block rate structure, because you start with the rate structure and then you take the Lifeline plan and apply it to residents who fit the qualifications. So the documents are there, and we'll be more than happy to walk through them during the 40 scheduled community meetings so that our friends in the water advocacy world actually understand where they can find the documents and the information that they're looking for.
All right.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So when you go to the DWSD website, go to the tab or link called Documents. The full plan is there. There's a summary of the plan. We have the door hangers that will be used when we go for our as we're going for our door-to-door outreach. And we have great respect for our colleagues at We the People of Detroit. And I see there are several speakers coming up from We the People of Detroit. The details of the plan have been posted. They are out. And we had hard copies here today for anyone who came in person to pass out to folks. So, and Director Brown, you wanted to speak to the ombudsman's issue as well.
Yeah, that's been an issue, a question. Can there be an ombudsman appointed to oversee this program? And as this board knows, the charter implemented a ombudsman for the city of Detroit for all city departments. I went and met with the ombudsman this morning. I asked him if he could assign a individual and let us post their name along with an alternate to oversee all things water as well as this affordability plan. What we're going to try to accomplish in the community meetings is to try to understand what it is that the water advocates want the ombudsman to do so that we can put that in writing, and then I can create metrics for this board to report to you what it is that they're asking the ombudsman to do, because at this point, I'm not quite sure I know what it is. But if we could just set up a meeting with We the People and they could explain to us what it is they want the ombudsman to do, we will create some standard operating procedures and some metrics, and we will measure exactly what it is and report back on a monthly basis as to what those metrics reveal.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board?
Our next speaker is Norel Hemphill.
Hi, yes. Good afternoon. My name is Norel Hemphill. I'm the legal fellow with the People of Detroit. I apologize. I was taking a couple minutes to review the plan, as it seems it's just been posted today because I looked this morning, and as of 12:08 p.m., the plan was not on your guys' website. So I apologize if I'm not very familiar with that. So thank you for making the plan overview, as it's entitled, available, but still we would like all of the nuts and bolts.
Excuse
of
me,
the plan.
Ms. Hemphill, the next page.
Oh, I thought I had
is
3
all of
minutes.
the details. All
Is
of the
my time gonna
details
pause?
are on the website, not
I
just the
understand.
overview.
Oh, okay. Is my time able to restart since I was cut off, or?
Just continue, Ms. Hemphill.
Well, I didn't want to continue because I thought I had 3 minutes, and
We're not gonna,
some-
I'm not gonna continue. I'm not gonna bring down the gavel. What
Okay,
else would you
perfect.
like to say?
So the community engagement meetings, I see that those, the 40 community engagement meetings, can you let us know where to find those? Also, I know it's been talked about, you cobbling together this funding of 5 different pots. We've tried to do a FOIA request for the details of that information, and that hasn't been made available. I talked to Attorney Poshpish last week at the community service meeting, and she said she was not able to get us that information, that it was available through the state of Michigan. So I wonder if there's a way for us to get that full information, that full detailed information. And I heard Commissioner Blackman say that this plan encourages Detroiters to use water responsibly. I would like a definition of what that means. Does that mean that Detroit residents must ration their water? And I know that you keep bringing up the Blue Ribbon survey that this plan is based upon. However, We the People of Detroit has posted on our website the 11-point water affordability platform that was based on full community input. I think that a plan that is more encompassing of that would be reflective of the needs of community. And for residents who would like to know more about water affordability in Detroit, I would encourage them to go to wethepeopleofdetroit.com. We have plenty of resources on our website, and also take the water affordability pledge, as we do send out information regularly to those who are subscribed. Thank you. Oh,
Thank
I'm
you,
sorry.
ma'am.
Finally, if we could be provided for an email address and direct phone number for each of the commissioners, so that our public officers are able to freely engage with the public. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board?
Mr. Chair, the next speaker is simply entitled We the People of Detroit.
We the People, please identify yourself.
Hello, thank you. This is Victoria Loom. I apologize, I'm unable to rename myself through this way, but thank you for taking comment. I'm providing comments on the Lifeline program. Now, I've heard a lot of frustration and defensiveness from the director, from the board. You know, I can hear it in your voices, I can see it on your faces. And yet you've heard from us, but you have to understand where our frustration comes from. You want us to work together, right? That's a hard ask when community is brought in only when you decide. To push us to back up a plan that we don't have. And yes, I understand it is now posted. I personally heard of the first in June, and of course there was a vote in June on the 28th. But if it was truly complete and ready for public review, it should have been published immediately after that meeting. I understood at that meeting, the chair did mention documents are not allowed to be published before the vote. I understand that. We believe it should have been published immediately after the plan if it was ready. We could see it at the start of the 60-day period. We want residents to get relief too. They've deserved it for decades. We, the people of Detroit and others, have put that on the backs and relief to community. But the future is not an insignificant issue. We're not against relief. Short-sighted plans fail people, and invariably those people are low-income and communities of color. And the last thing I'll say is I did hear, I think it was Deborah Pospich, say that you'll be taking notes on the feedback and you'll be compiling recommendations. I would also request that if possible, people's feedback is recorded for and also made public as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Is there another individual that would like to address the board?
Yes, our next speaker is Deborah Taylor from We the People of Detroit.
Ms. Taylor, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. I'd like to thank the Board of Commissioners for listening to the public and hearing our comments. The one thing that I would like to say that is a bit disturbing and that I think should be addressed in a forthright manner is we should be able to have a phone numbers for the commissioners, the appointees of the mayor, as well as email addresses. You know, these are public servants, but yet there's sort of this invisible wall between the public, the taxpayers, and then those who have been appointed by the mayor to serve on that board. There are, you know, so that the director serves as a gatekeeper of sorts between the public, the taxpayers, and the commissioners, who I'm sure don't want to be seen as a rubber stamp kind of board. I would like to know, Mr. Brown, what are exactly the 5 pots of federal dollars that you speak of, and also the amounts and the sources. Also the number of meetings, you mentioned 40 meetings, and I haven't been able to get to the website today, but where are they located? Is there information that is readily available for the public to be able to see those? And then also, I would think that there would be a way, Attorney Poppich, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, but you talked about recording the information and doing a summary report. And I would think that some of that information ought to be readily available to the public and clearly stated where it will be. And then the other thing that we've been asking for is the full plan, the operations, and as all the other We the People of Detroit. Mr. Brown, if you would just say our entire name, it would be appreciated. There's another We the People, but we're We the People of Detroit. And that's our official name as per the IRS. And so, because there are other We the Peoples around, We the People Michigan and others. So it would just be helpful if you wouldn't mind using our correct title or name. And then I think that maybe at some point GLEWA needs to come into the picture, since they really have taken over so much of the operations and assets that really belong to the residents of the city of Detroit, and really look at some resources that should be forthcoming from them, since we know that the rate, Mr. Brown, you mentioned that there's no way that the ratepayers could cover the cost, but GLEWA was sitting on a treasure that really belongs to the citizens of the city of Detroit. And that probably needs to really be reinvestigated and opened up at some point. And I thank you for your time. If you would answer the questions about the 5 pots of federal dollars and the amounts and the sources, that would be helpful. And I find for most of us, the lifeline versus the inclining rate structure that you talked about sounds very confusing. So maybe you should do a little quick workshop for us on what that really means and what it's about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Taylor.
And I'd be more than happy to stand corrected with we, the people of Detroit. I will refer to it as that. Certainly, one of the issues that you raised is with regards to GLEWA, is approximately $5 million that comes through the lease agreement between DWSD and GLEWA in the current RAP program. And so I will be submitting a resolution to the board of GLEWA to adjust our ability to use that $5 million for this particular plan. So right now, in GLEWA's bylaws, the RAP program does not allow us to use the money in the way in which the program that we've outlined has been designed. So we'll be submitting that resolution at the next board. That's one pot. There's certainly the LIWOP dollars of which we received 2 days ago, approximately $9 million that came from the federal government through the state. It's our understanding that by October, the state will be giving Wayne Metro $100 million for 5 years. And that 10 million so that's 20 million a year for 5 years, 100 million. 10 million a year will go to Detroit and be available for weatherization as well as plumbing issues in our program. And then there's the SER program, SER, that has dollars for housing, but also utilities, gas, lights, and water. And then there's the CERA program that's outlined on the state's website that's similar. Its primary purpose is to help those with housing issues, but there are dollars for utility payments, gas, lights, as well as water. And so that's the 5 programs that I'm outlining. There are many others along with grants that are available for us to apply for and use those dollars. And again, each one of those plans comes with a different set of rules and regulations that we have to adhere to when we're creating a lifeline plan. We have to make sure that we're not, that we're inside the guidelines of those different plans.
And Mr. Chair, I'd like to clarify or also add to Director Brown's comments that the funding does not come directly to DWSD. The funding has to go through a third-party administrator. And Wayne Metro is the approved third-party administrator that the state allows to administer the funds, disperse the funds to us, the customers, whatever. So Wayne Metro is the entity that must comply with all of the rules. And then Wayne Metro advises DWSD what can and cannot be in the Lifeline plan so that the rules are not violated. So the money must go through the administrator first, and then it comes to us for the benefit of the customer. And so I don't want anyone to think that all that money is sitting here in our accounts. It has to be step by step, go through Wayne Metro and allocate it to each particular customer. So, and then with regard to the comments, what we intend to do at the community meetings is to have comment cards so that we have the comments and questions in writing, and the answers to the questions will be made public. We also have online right now is an online forum for people to submit questions, comments, concerns about the plan. All that is transparent. So the purpose of summarizing the comments is not to cover up the actual comments themselves. It's to advise the board. You know, it might be that 100 people all have the same comment, and that requires an amendment to the plan. So I just want to make clear that the comments, the questions, the answers to the questions will all be online.
All right.
Mr. Chair, our next speaker is Asia Meeks.
Yes, hi. Thank you so much for having me. I just want to say thank you to Mr. Brown and Commissioner Board for assisting me back in February with the connectivity of my water. I think I also heard my neighbor earlier speaking about his property, trying to get that assistance as well. I'm definitely glad to hear that you're able or in the works of assisting them. So my issue today, it's not a big one, it's just when you guys came out to assist with the water, you turned on everything and dug up the dirt. There's now like a, how do you say it, like a not a pothole, but there's like a something in the middle of the street that everyone's driving past, and it's just giving, I think, the neighborhood now issue. And then there's also my sidewalk, like I said, because of the dig up, it still also has where it needs to be filled in at, and it's a hole near the side of the street. So I don't know if that's your department, but I have called the customer service line to see when someone was coming out, and I called back in March and I called back in May, and they were just saying that it's a long list. So I'm just trying to see, is that accurate, or how do we proceed with just correcting that issue?
Yeah, thank you for that. We are several weeks behind in our restoration process. If you leave your address in the chat, I'll make sure that one of our customer service representatives gets back to you and gives you an anticipated date in which that restoration, sidewalk, grass, curb, street will be repaired.
Ms. Meeks, is that on your property, or were you saying it was out in the street?
I think they had to go into the street in order
Yeah,
to
it's
connect
both.
her
Yeah,
line.
it's in the street, and it's in my dirt, so it's along the same
All
side.
right, thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Chair, our next speaker is Beulah Walker.
Ms. Walker.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Hello, my name is Beulah Walker. I'm from Hydrate Detroit. I just want to submit my comment to the Board of Water Commissioners, Director Brown, and all the entities involved in making the DWSD Lifeline plan a success. I also want to thank Director Brown for sending out resources to our Share Water campaign that we had Saturday. I wasn't there, I have to work, but I just want to say thank you. Hydrate Detroit is in the process of gathering all our clients to submit to Wayne Metro so we can get the resources that they need. But I'm here to just say how excited I am, and I just never thought this day would come. And thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, there are no other speakers.
All right. Is there anyone else within the sound of my voice who would like to address the board? All right, hearing none, then we will close out public participation, and we will move on to item 6. A and B are communications. A, B, and C are communications. Commissioners, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I'm going to make one motion. I move that we receive and file items A, B, and C.
All right. Is there support? There's support. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, then all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And that motion is adopted. Next, are there any items from commissioners?
I have a thank you to the department. We have a customer, unfortunately, who's had a lot of problems at her address. And I think they're going to do some additional investigation to make sure that maybe this needs to be accelerated on the repair of this, because she unfortunately had 3 breaks in the last few days, weeks, I should say. But she's very grateful for the response from the department and for the people who have been in contact with her. This, my favorite 96-year-old customer. So she sends along her appreciation for getting it fixed as quickly as they did. But of course, it's never good to be without water. So thank you.
All right. Any other items from commissioners? Then let's move to unfinished business. The amendments to the bylaws are on the table. I don't know if we're prepared to deal with that today or
And
not.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the bylaws. I've read them. I'm not sure if all the other members have read it. I know we received them before the meeting.
All right.
But I'll leave that up to you.
No, I think first you can move to
I move to approve.
remove from the table.
Okay, oh, sorry, thank you. I move to remove from the table the two bylaw amendments.
Support? All right, I'll assume there's unanimous consent for that. And now Commissioner Forte.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to read those, so.
I had a couple of questions and I think they've been answered by inference about, it comes from the consent judgment, but we don't have to adopt them today. We're functioning fine the way we are. Commissioner Kinlock, do you mind if we wait a month?
I have no problem. Yep.
All right,
And-
then would
and
you
could-
mind,
yeah.
would you mind putting it back on the table?
Can we, okay, move to table?
Is there support?
Support.
All right, that's a non-debatable motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And that is adopted. I know Council Poshpish is available for questions. I had suggested we might meet in an executive session for the purposes of receiving legal advice. I don't know if that's necessary, but we certainly can do that if you like.
And Mr. Chair, the proposed revisions clean up a lot of things that the board, that will make streamline meetings, to clarify some things, just to cross some Ts and dot some Is.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, a couple of the provisions in there are the ones that were prescribed by Judge Cox in his December 2015 order. So they have to stay in there. And the only input that Ms. King Bell and I need from this body is how many of the commissioners per committee need to have the specialty that forms the basis of that committee. For example, Finance Committee. Does just the chair need to have a finance background, or do you want 2 or more members to have a finance background on the committee?
And
The prior version was inartfully worded and made it look like all of you needed to have specialties in finance, engineering, customer service. So I'd really like to, for your benefit, change those provisions for each committee and just explain who needs what qualifications to be on a committee.
Excuse me, we briefly had talked about this, but just mentioned it in passing. Would it be in compliance if you have at least one member?
That's fine.
Just at least one member, you know.
Well, and we also have to define
What that means.
what an expert, how is one an expert in financial areas? You participate in passing a very large budget for the county of Wayne.
It's not expertise, it's experience.
Experience.
And that's
I
per
mean,
Judge
we're-
Cox's order that he wants people with a wide variety of experiences to serve on the committee.
Yeah, I mean, we're blessed with
Yeah.
someone from a career in banking. I think that's overqualification. I
Definitely.
mean, my view is any commissioner should be able to serve on any committee. And so we just have to be mindful of these provisions. And I think our definitions are going to necessarily have to be broad.
Well, I'll take the liberty of picking the experiences attributable to each committee, and we'll say that at least one member of the committee.
Yes, at
should
least
have
one.
that.
Okay.
Okay.
And we are blessed, and I'm sorry, I probably spoke out of turn with regard to Commissioner Forte. We are blessed with a wide variety of experiences at this table. I mean, and
Yes.
that's a strength. So if anything, we want to make sure that we use those. Yeah, so.
Right. Okay, so we will update the revisions to just clean up the committee structure. And if there's any questions in the interim, please feel free to email me.
Okay.
You've addressed really the primary areas that I was wanting to make sure that we were sharpening our focus on.
Agreed. All right. That's a lot of debate for a non-debatable.
Right, right.
That was discussion, not debate.
All right. Did we vote on the motion? All those in favor of putting this back on the table, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that is done. Next, we go to item 9, the approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I would move approval of the consent agenda.
Is there support?
Support.
And I believe all of these items came through the Finance Committee. And Commissioner Forte, do you want to comment? Would you please comment?
Yes, all of these items were reviewed, fully debated, and are supported by the Finance Committee.
All right. And does any commissioner wish to remove any of the items on the consent agenda to be considered separately? All right, hearing none. Any comments or questions on the motion? All right, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And that is adopted. Just spent a lot of money. There is no new business. Yes, Commissioner Garcia.
Yes, I think, and I'm not sure if it would be new business or just comments under the commissioners, but with this decision that was made by the greater water issue about so many
Yeah.
Comments by commission.
claims that were
yes.
being denied. And I'm not sure, Mr. Director, have you heard any, have a lot of calls? I know that we did, because we helped at La Salle, we helped fill out a lot of that
Sure you did.
paperwork.
Yeah.
We took a lot of staff filling it out. And I'm just really concerned that they just did a blanket, we're denying with, are they not afraid of a lawsuit, of a class act? I mean, I'm just really concerned and because we helped at La Salle fill out a lot of that paperwork for here, and then some of it was going to the greater. So I don't know, maybe I'm just being a little bit cautious, but I'm just concerned about how are we responding to some of these concerns? I mean, some people lost their homes, some people lost their valuables. So, I mean, and it also put a very hardship on some of these families that didn't have the money to begin with. So I don't know. I'm asking you, Mr. Director, because I'm not sure. Yeah, and we had a robust conversation with the Great Lakes Water Authority before they put out their letter and also published it on their website. And each of the 24,000 claims is getting a separate letter. So we know what that looks like. I didn't get a lot of calls from the media yesterday, as I anticipated that I would. And I had already agreed with the Great Lakes Water Authority that if I got calls, that I would refer them to the Great Lakes Water Authority to respond to their action. But there are also claims that were made to DWSD, and we're going to have to address those very shortly. And I think that I intend to give direction to staff to go in a slightly different direction when we put out our letter. I hope that people understand that the mayor worked with the Biden administration to get into the city of Detroit in a record amount of time, that FEMA did pay out directly to homeowners more than $208 million. And I absolutely know that that did not make anybody whole, that hopefully made their home safe in terms of sanitizing, but it didn't replace everything that was left. I think if we were ever to look through the archives of DWSD before Great Lakes Water Authority, that there's never been a payout more than, that even comes close to $208 million. And so I want to make sure that we identify the exact dollar amounts that went out. We also received FEMA funding for public assistance to, it did make our system whole. It didn't pay for everything that we paid for based on damage to the storm. And we're still negotiating with FEMA for additional dollars to repair the damage that was done to our system. But most importantly, I know that we're not going to deny every claim. There's going to be a modest number of claims that we are settling. And so I want to make sure that I make people aware of that. We'll come to this board with the letter that goes out to the public as well as to each claimant and let you weigh in on the letter that we're sending before we send it. But I anticipate that we're going to be doing that probably before the next board member meeting or at the next board meeting. I hope that people understand that if GLEWA had have paid out on all the claims, DWSD would have had to pay probably close to 40% of that because we're 40% of GLEWA. And so we would have been paying both on the GLEWA claims as well as the claims that we're going to settle. And most importantly, I hope people understand where that money would come from. It would come from rates.
Yes.
It would come from
No place
rates.
else
And it
for it
could
to come.
possibly cause me to come to this board and ask for an amendment to the budget in order to be able to settle that debt. So there's a lot to this other than just denying claims. And we took every claim and we went and looked in every sewer. And when we found fault with our sewer that it had collapsed or failed, we're going to settle that claim. We're not going to deny it. We're going to settle it. And fortunately and unfortunately for the claimants, it's a modest number of the, Deb knows the number of claims we ended up with. Certainly I reported at one time, I think we had 32,000 people apply. A quarter of those, if not more, were people that didn't live in the city of Detroit. They lived elsewhere. A lot of those were for vacant properties. And so when we got down to the number, it wasn't as large as what we originally reported. As always, when you go through the data and verify the claims, and we hired a company to do that for us.
Okay.
But we're close to being able to come out with a resolution. And I want this board to be able to review the letter that goes out to the public as well as the letter that goes out to individuals.
I wanted to say something, Mr. Director, as relates to GLEWA. And see, you have a different perspective because, this board is we're appointed by the mayor of the city of Detroit. We have a sense of ownership to this system. And so we're handling it different, but it seems like GLEWA has this code approach, strictly by the numbers, strictly by whatever. And I do know that when having conversations with you all regarding responsibility as far as water main breaks and all of the damages that occur from the infrastructure that GLEWA is now responsible for, that there are certain areas that they are responsible for. And so to do this blanket, like we're immune, if I understand you try to not bankrupt the system, but just this blanket, like we're not responsible, when I know that there are properties that have been destroyed because of certain defects within that system that they're now in charge of. So I don't know if we need a change in the law. I know appetite not there to just, create more exposure to municipalities, but some sense of ownership, but I'm not sure what you all can do as board members, but just the blanket, that's what I'm saying, just not 5, not 10. How many were, I'm just saying that's a concern.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for GLEWA. I am on the board. I do understand that as board members, we have a fiduciary responsibility to the organization. We do so GLEWA as well as DWSD, we benefit from having governmental immunity. And when the law basically says that 50% or more of the defect has to be the utilities' fault, and clearly we paid more than $1 million for 2 separate investigations that both came back and said the same thing, that yes, there was fault, but it wasn't more than 50%. And you would have flooded even if the system had been operating at 100% capacity with regards to the pumps and things that were reported that were 25% down or whatever that number was in the report. So again, I'm hoping that, and this isn't a criticism of GLEWA at all, but I'm hoping that because we're a retail operation, that we're a lot more sensitive to our customers' plight in our letters that go out. And that we will, I've made it clear to staff, if we're going to err on the side of the customer, if the system was blocked or has failed, then let's settle that claim. And so you won't see 100% denials. There will be a modest number of claims that.
Well, Mr. Director, so this is just directly if from the floods, the floods, these not necessarily water main breaks that may have occurred around the same time.
Yeah, for DWSD, we control the sewer lines that people's homes feed into them. And so those lines have to be open and clear. If they're blocked or they're broken, so if the sewers in the alley is broken and the customer is being flooded, that's our fault. We have to settle that. GLEWA has more than 200 miles of transmission lines and pumps and CSOs, and they should be working at 100% capacity. And if there's more than 50% their fault, then they have to pay. But in this case, clearly the investigation reveals that they weren't more than 50% at fault, and therefore they have a fiduciary responsibility to the organization to implement governmental immunity, which they enjoy. So when you say change the legislation or change, I'm not quite sure that would be in the utility's best interest.
All right.
Also, Commissioner Garcia, there are currently, I believe, 9 or 10 class action lawsuits pending.
9 how many?
9 or 10 class action lawsuits pending with regard to the rain events in June of July of last year.
Okay.
Even if your claim was denied, you are potentially a class member in the lawsuits, which I can guarantee you will drag on for quite some time. There's currently numerous motions pending in the court that the court has not even scheduled a hearing yet.
Will they be getting a notification with they're denied? Because I haven't.
Who?
Any, the customers that have.
Our GLEWA's customers will be getting notices. People who made complaints directly to GLEWA will receive a denial letter. Customers of the retail system, our retail system, who made a claim will also receive a letter that says whether their claim will be approved or denied with regard only to the retail system, the local system. We received over 30,000 claims. I'd say about 35 to 40% of them came from people outside of Detroit, as far away as Grand Rapids and the UP.
They're automatically out. Okay.
Yeah, so we will be denying those for sure. But the Grosse Points, the ring perimeter of suburbs are saying the flooding in their communities were caused by Detroit. But again, we are responsible only for the local system pipes. And so it's a different burden of proof if you're trying to show it was the regional system and the pump failures versus Detroit's local system that caused the damage to your home. So it's very complicated legal matters and many briefs have been filed. And this will drag on for quite some time. Also, we received word that Wayne Metro has a new pot of money for people who were affected by the rain events. So we're going to put that information in our letters to our customers to help out. Because if you were denied by FEMA, you had no insurance, you didn't get your basement sanitized by us, which we did thousands of basements with ARPA dollars. There may be this one more pot of money for people to try to get some help. But again, personal belongings are rarely considered something that's covered by any kind of governmental benefits. It's to make your house habitable, you know, sanitary and habitable. So, you know, your clothing, furniture, things of that nature are not for your survival. And it's unlikely that any government benefits will pay for that. And again, if for some reason, 3-4 years from now, a lawsuit is resolved and there's $100 million settlement, that is coming from the ratepayers. They will essentially be paying themselves back, is unfortunately how it works. There's no pot of insurance money that the retail system can tap into to cover any kind of damages.
There's also, the city's been invited to apply for $54 million in HUD dollars for flood remediation. And so we're working through that regulation to see if in fact it can be applied to a DWSD project. So there are lots of different sources and pots of money that are coming at us. And hopefully some of the people that didn't get the help that they need will be able to either get something from Wayne Metro or one of the other pots that are showing up.
All right, next
Oh,
is,
sir.
oh, no, ma'am.
How are those HUD dollars used? You bring up, is
Yeah.
that simply for restoration of? the-
Yeah, as I indicated to the reconciliation pre-meeting that we have, and I know Commissioner Forte is on the we're getting ready for her meeting. You know, these offers to apply for these dollars come with hundreds of pages of regulation, and we're still combing through it, the city is, in order to understand could this dollars be used for rebuilding seawalls in parts of our city that have seen traditional flooding? Obviously, it's coming from HUD, so would it be better used to build housing, to remove people from those areas? Right now, we're going through the documents to understand regulation-wise how we can match up those dollars with a project. So far, I've only seen about 13 million of the 54 that I think DWSD could qualify to be able to use for flooding issues, mostly in flood-prone areas of the city. But we'll get back to the board once we clearly understand, because the last thing you want to do is use the money inappropriately and have to pay it back. So we have to make sure that we're within regulation based on what HUD. We don't normally get dollars from HUD. And so.
The question I had, the HUD question came up after the initial question I had was, how do we help customers to understand what is reimbursable and what is not? I mean, it's not just on an individual basis that customers need to understand this. It's more of a system-wide communication that we need to have to make sure they understand what we can and cannot do based on our culpability. If it's not more than 50% of our problem, that there's nothing we can do.
Yeah.
I think that's a hard pill for many customers to swallow. And yet, how do we continually inform so that they understand what our responsibility or fiscal responsibilities are?
Yeah, I think the first opportunity will be in this letter that we're going to send out to all of the claimants, and then we'll post that letter on our website. I can't even attempt to explain how FEMA decides how money is allocated, because I've heard a lot of horror stories about people that have applied and didn't qualify if in fact they have insurance, or if another agency pays it, then they don't qualify. I couldn't even attempt to, but certainly from DWSD's perspective, that letter should explain, and answer those questions. And that's why we want to take our time and carefully, artfully craft the letter so that people do understand why we're denying the claims if in fact they get denied.
Director Brown, I think it's beyond those with whom we are communicating, who have a claim. It is a bigger issue for the broader customer base to understand what they can, going down, because that could happen, whatever happens in the future.
It could happen this afternoon. It just-
Let's hope not. But how we make them aware of our responsibility to their needs.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we do that, but I would hope that we would give that some thought and it may, I don't think it'd be a website issue, but maybe it can be. But ongoing with our communications with our customers, we
Right.
need to be able to make that, maybe did you know kind of thing.
How do we weave it into
How
our
we- yes.
overall PR strategy?
Yes,
Yeah, well,
yes.
we'll charge our communication team to.
I know he's really happy with me for bringing that up, so. Thank you.
Mr.
Anybody
Chair,
else?
I just received a quick update from Wayne Metro. They are transitioning current RAP participants into the Lifeline plan, and 83% of current RAP participants are transitioning to the $18 a month, the tier 1. And that's just amazing, because
it is.
before they were, I'm going to say only in air quotes, getting a $25 discount on their bill. Now their bill is $18. So, I mean,
That's amazing.
yeah,
is,
that's
it is.
amazing. 83% are in tier 1.
And since my name was mentioned specifically as to what I mean by responsible use, I've seen some very irresponsible use. People washing dishes, running water the entire time. I think we can get some helpful hints out as to how people can save themselves some money. I mean, I don't yell at people, but I bring it to their attention that when they're washing dishes, you don't keep the water running the entire time you're washing dishes. There are other things, of course, that we can help them with, but I think we have an opportunity to help them understand what responsible use of water is.
Yes.
And I thought included in that, Mary, was just this whole notion of how we're helping on the plumbing side too.
Yes, oh, that's
But you have
tremendous.
to report it so
We
that you
have to
can get
report
the
it.
help. And the help is tremendous
Yeah.
to me.
And you have to know that it's happening. If your leak is on a different floor, you may not discover it for a long time. So all of those things, we can help once we know.
And we're in an ironic environment with regard to conservation. We're right in the middle of 20% of the world's fresh water.
Yes.
Unlike our friend from
everybody wants it.
California, we are under no environmental, there's no reason for us to conserve in terms of the availability of water. And when you look at our financial incentives, we exist by the revenue that we bring in. And if we were just looking at our financial incentives, we would be urging people to use lots and lots. We got plenty of it.
Use it.
Use it. But obviously we're not. And there are other reasons that we should encourage people to conserve. And I think we're doing that.
Mr. Chair, I thought we were going to have our equipment would alert customers as, let's just say they've got a drip. I thought we had the sophistication to send out some kind of a notification to customers to say, you've got a problem. You want to correct it. But I don't think that's happening yet.
We are upgrading our billing system. with better technology to be able to do that. We've committed in the Lifeline new rate model, not the Lifeline rate model, but the new plan that we put out is that if the customer gives us a means to contact them by text or by email, we will be alerting them once they hit the 3,000 gallon mark. And then once they get close to the 4,500, we can send out an alert. So I know that our IT team is working on that with Wayne Metro to be able to get that notification out. Of course, we can put it on the monthly bill, but we'd like to get it out right away that what the status of the account is.
Thank
We
you.
have the ability
Yeah,
to do it.
We just need to alert them.
Yes.
Thank you.
Director's metrics.
Mr. Chair, I had a legal pad that I've been checking off. I was going to use the time to update the board on the Lifeline plan and what we were doing. I've checked off every item except one, and that's that on Tuesday, the city council's last formal session prior to going out on summer recess. I will be in front of city council to walk them through our new rate structure as well as the new Lifeline rate plan. So I'm sure that Brian didn't intend for that to be one of the community meetings, but it certainly can be added to the list.
All right, comments by commissioners?
I just want to say I was sorry that I was not able to attend the event that was put on by
Oh, by Hydrate Detroit?
Hydrate Detroit. I had another commitment that where I was speaking and I could not attend, but I'm glad to know that we did have two commissioners as well, of course, our director, who were able to attend and show their support for that event.
I did not attend, but I did make sure that we had two of our customer service reps there, as well as two Wayne Metro representatives there. So we had four for at least 4 hours of the event.
Thank you.
Commissioner Blackman reminds me that a comment was made about access to the individual commissioners and whether or not our emails and our telephone numbers should be publicly available. I mean, I can say anybody with access to Google can find out where I live and what my phone number is and what my email is. Perhaps we should discuss that. I have no problem with my personal email being put in with my biography on the website. I
Mr.
don't know.
Chair, each commissioner has an email address,
Already.
a public email address,
DetroitMI.gov.
first name dot last name at detroitmi.gov.
That's,
Available now.
and that's, if you look up our individual names on the website, that email address is there.
I'll check with Brian, but we
Okay.
can put that there.
So I mean, good grief, we're here twice a month. You can talk to us whenever you want. You
I
want-
prefer the email
You want
to
to
the
call me at
telephone
home
call.
at 9 o'clock?
I I was going to suggest that we probably could, for this particular project, we could implement one email for all of you that that we would monitor and make sure you got, if it was specifically directed towards you. And so it would be a group email account, and I'd have my team monitor it. And then if you got there was something that was directed to the group, we'd send it out to everybody. But if it was just directed to you, we could. So we'll look at that technology and see if we can make that available. I just caution, we don't want to confuse people with too many different
No.
methods, as Ms. Posh indicated.
And I think each one of us would be happy to sit down with anybody, away from this table.
Well, I think there's some, and I think I think that's valuable, but there's also some, I think, caution that sitting down individually, because I think it's better if we understand what we're communicating to our public.
Mhm.
So the more opportunity we have to do it as a group or as these several of us at one time, then we don't have people pointing fingers and saying, well, so-and-so said, and so-and-so said.
That's
So
true.
I think it's important that we be careful how we communicate with our public.
Yes, yeah, I think to accept questions so that we can investigate and take them back and truly understand, as opposed to committing.
Yes.
Because if once, that to me takes us down a very slippery slope. And I can't commit unless I have both sides of the pieces of information.
Agreed.
I think that's very well said. And
Commissioners, please keep in mind that any correspondence you have with constituents individually is foiable.
Of course.
So
and I
Emails
also,
as well. All of that's
Yes.
foilable, yes.
I also appreciate the director's thoughts about finding someone in the city's ombudsman's office that could
Yes.
specifically be
Yes.
tasked to us.
I did receive a text while we were going through the meeting from the ombudsman, Bruce Simpson, and he's monitoring the calls and says that he's more than willing to help put these metrics together and be the ombudsman for this project if we just give him the criteria that he wants.
Very good.
monitored.
If there are no other matters to come before the board, Commissioner Forte has a motion to make.
I'd like to move adjournment.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm
Aye.
sorry.
Oh, did you?
She had to go, but Commissioner Garcia, I didn't
I
want to
just
cut
needed
you off.
The information that was provided for us. to
Thank you,
pass
Linda.
out. That was my only
I'll
concern.
text you.
Okay. Did they apply this information in several languages?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. thank you.
Absolutely.
That- That's my
Absolutely.
only question. I
Yes, no,
appreciate
it's, I
Okay.
know that that's in the
You know
making.
that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All righty.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. Have a
Thank you.
great.
Yeah.
All right, guys, take care.
Well, thanks, Lane.